What's up, weebs, and welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. I am your host, Rebel Notorious, and today I am joined by Shaun.
That's me.
And Melina.
It's me.
Returning from the previous episode, originally the plan was to have Kelsey in before we returned as the trio. It was going to be the duo. So I think when me and Kelsey record an episode, we'll go over the kind of future plans for the episode and the structure we're going to have. But today I think we'll just focus on what we have at hand, because I think...
The tried and tested trio.
Yes. So kicking it off from where we left off in the last episode, couple of corrections to go over.
Wow, what did you fuck up?
So in anime, there's misinformation's everywhere. I guess
In
it's
these
inherent
times.
from a medium that comes from a different language. You're always going to have trip ups, and as much as you try and kind of research into this sort of thing, as I always try to do, it's easy to fall prey to a lot of this misinformation because you're kind of going off of accounts of different information, and if you don't know the language, you're kind of having to trust in the translations that you're reading. And so in the last episode, I mentioned that ghost stories failed in Japan, which, as it turns out, is not true.
Oh.
So
That's something I'd always heard as well.
Yeah, so that's like I mentioned, the legend, the story that surrounds the series.
The ghost story.
The ghost story. The urban legend that surrounds it. But as I found out from someone who sent me in a correction, one of my friends, it's not true. It was very popular in Japan. It had a really good audience share. And it was basically a miscommunication between the licensors and the Japanese studios. I'll link a video into the description of the podcast that goes over it in detail from MercuryFalcon, who did a lot of really great research into it and kind of uncovered the real story behind it. But to summarize, in Japan, it had a 14% audience share in the 2000s, which in the middle of an anime boom was great, because even back when Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z were airing, they only had about 8%. So that's 6% higher than Dragon Ball, of all things.
Pretty shocking.
And this is 3 or 4 years after Evangelion was on the air.
Wow.
So it was quite popular for the time, and that makes sense because in Japan it's based on a series of children's books that were heavily popular, which I didn't know. Normally a lot of this stuff comes from manga. I for some reason always assumed Ghost Stories was actually an original series, but yeah, as it turns out, based on children's books. But when it was airing on TV, it was actually made as a filler show, because when this was coming out, One Piece was airing on Wednesday nights, and there was a show called GTO airing on Sundays, and that's, I think, the prime time spot is Sunday night around 7:30 or something like that. And they wanted to move One Piece from Wednesday to Sunday, but they didn't want to do it right away when GTO finished, because they noticed that moving... so they originally did that with Rurouni Kenshin when that was originally animated by Studio Gallop and then moved to Studio Dean. They also moved its time slot, and they noticed a massive drop-off in viewership. So to avoid that with One Piece, what they decided to do was, rather than when GTO finished instantly moving One Piece, they wanted to wait to the beginning of the new anime spring season, because anime works in a sort of 13-week cycle of seasonal airings.
Very scheduled.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's why you kind of notice a recurring theme of episode count being 12, 13 if it's a single core series, or 24 to 26 if it's a dual core, and then 52. So you can kind of work out episode counts based on that. So moving One Piece, they wanted to avoid that viewership drop off, because One Piece was a titanic title and still is, and this is the 2000s when it was just getting itself started.
Yeah.
So they made a filler show to fill in those weeks. So they had 20 weeks to fill, so they made Ghost Stories, which is why it's only 20 episodes and doesn't fit into the 24 episode structure, which is why I kind of fell into the whole got cancelled, no one cared, because it didn't fit any perception, the standard that you have for these sort of things.
Yeah, it's easy to make that assumption.
Yeah, but it was very popular. Now, one episode did get pulled from air and kind of caused a bit of a controversy because there was an episode, I think episode 3, originally was supposed to be about an urban legend of a woman who has slits on her mouth.
The slit woman thing. I've heard
Yeah.
the story
the
before.
Joker mouth.
Sort of, yeah, but basically it caused a controversy around it looking like a cleft palate, and so, parents of children with cleft palates weren't happy, and Fuji TV pulled it from the air. So they aired a recap, blah blah blah. But yeah, so Ghost Stories is massively popular in Japan, and the reason it got dubbed the way it did is because someone lied somewhere along the line, basically.
Damn.
They pulled in a writer who doesn't really like anime but is known for doing these sort of dubs. So yeah, that's Ghost Stories. Not. If anything, we say, because we're talking off the cuff, I'm going with information that I've tried to obtain over years, and I research into these things. But like I say, it's easy to fall into misinformation because it can look real, it can look legitimate.
Yeah.
Like I said about Ghost Stories, the English VAs backed that sort of story up. Even staff from ADV Films did. But it's not true. So if we ever do say something that's inherently false and we don't notice it at the time,
Call us the fuck out.
yeah,
Exactly.
let us know. Give us a respectful comment and criticism to say that we got it wrong, and in a future episode I'll try and cover it and let you know that we got it wrong and what the actual true story is, because I don't want to continue to perpetuate and spread the misinformation within the community. But as someone once pointed out, I think, I can't remember who it was, one of the writers I think from Anime News Network has said that misinformation's so rampant within anime, you'd drive yourself insane trying to rein it back in and try and correct every piece of information. So we'll do our best, but we're going to get stuff wrong because, like I said, we're talking off the cuff, and that's
We're
how these
human.
things go. We're human beings.
Yeah,
so,
we're not perfect. Like, we're going to get things
Yeah,
wrong.
so
That's
if you-
just to be expected.
Yeah, so if you want to give us a correction, be respectful, and we'll cover it in another
Yeah.
episode.
We're human, but we'll be as correct as we think we can be.
Exactly. So, with that out of the way,
Welcome to episode
Wex
2.
to episode 2, yeah, where we're going to be covering Galaxy Express 3.9 and Lupin III, Mystery of Mamo. The way I presented them there doesn't mean anything about how we're going to cover these in terms of what comes first or what comes second.
In fact, I'm going to completely jump in the face of that and say I'm demanding we talk about Mamo first, because holy shit.
I thought you might want to
Yeah.
talk about Mamo first, so I'll let you kick it off while I
Go
take a
ahead.
very
Okay.
deserved drink of water.
That movie was wild as
Oh,
shit.
yeah,
God,
100%.
yeah.
Where do I even start? Okay,
That's a
so
good comment where to start.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
okay, to start with, I'm the one I feel like that not that I enjoyed Cagliostro the most, but like I feel like I was the one that was most open about how much I
You
liked
responded
Cagliostro.
to it the most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so going in, I don't want to say I had like
High hope.
high expectations,
Yeah.
but like I was expecting something pretty nice, or at least
Mm-hmm.
not similar, because you've
Yeah.
already told me that like
Yeah.
like tone wise it's a bit dark. All the other ones are a bit darker than Cagliostro, but it started off strong. I will say that.
Oh, for
In the
sure.
first like I don't know, half an hour maybe, 20 minutes, like I was getting the same vibes as Cagliostro.
Yeah.
I was getting into it. It felt great. And then I can pinpoint the moment when it just started to go down for me, when they hit like the desert and they're like walking through and all that. That's when it started to get slow.
Very
And then after
slow.
that, it just got wilder and
Yeah.
wilder and wilder to the point where at the end, spoiler alert, I'm just going to say this right now, there's a giant fucking brain in this movie.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this movie, pause this episode, go watch it, and come back
Yeah.
to us. So what I'm going to start trying to do in the episode is cover where people can watch these things, because,
Okay, makes sense.
So Lupin III is messily available in the UK. If you're living in the UK and listening to this, if you want to watch Mystery of Mamo, the only way you can do it is by going to CEX and picking up the Secret of Mamo manga DVD release, which doesn't have the dub we watched. I don't think it does anyway. I assume it has the manga entertainment dub, which calls him Wolf the Third, like we discussed in the last episode, which I
Still
hate.
hate it.
I just can't imagine that scene early in the movie. between Lupin and Fujiko, where he gives her the rock, where he's calling him where she calls him Wolf. I just couldn't imagine that.
That's too far.
Yeah.
No.
And we'll get into like that, how their whole flirtatious relationship is played out later.
Yeah.
But just saying that now, that's too much.
Yeah. So unfortunately, yeah, it's not available on Blu-ray in the UK. If you want to get the US release, which, you know, if you have a region-free Blu-ray player you can watch, you can grab that from up1.co.uk or Amazon, I think, probably, but it's probably cheaper from Up One. So yeah, anyway, sorry to derail what you were saying, but
No,
just
ahead.
to point out to people, if you haven't seen this movie, categorically fucking watch this before we talk about it. Because I think if anyone has listened to this and has never seen any Lupin, even after watching last week's episode, or you know, whenever the last one came out, because we're not on a weekly schedule, if anyone's just listened to that, they've got a very different impression of what Lupin is to what we're about to say now. So, you know, watch Cagliostro, watch Mamo. Don't just go into this conversation we're about to have blind, because it's gonna be fucking wild.
You will be so lost.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like, this movie never goes in any fucking direction you expect it to.
God, no. This was so far from what I kind of expected.
Yeah, same. I think the way it's been described from, I think, sort of like, you know, anime news sites and stuff, is that this is slightly closer to Monkey Punch's manga, which makes sense because tonally, I'd say the TV series always kind of, even before Miyazaki came in and done Cagliostro and kind of trajectory changed the entire thing, was maybe a little more sanitized. Because Lupin's always, I mentioned this when I was watching it, the relationship here in Mamo between Fujiko and Lupin is so far fucking beyond any normal
it's
relationship
just,
they have.
Like, it made me so uncomfortable.
Oh, same.
To the point where I was like, I feel like she should say something and he should respect it.
Yeah, like that's the sort of vibe I got from Cagliostro, because like I also want to say by the way, Fujiko and Cagliostro and Fujiko here feel like two kind of different characters.
I had to look up whether they were the same person.
Yeah.
She even like looks different.
Oh,
Like,
this is the
she's
thing.
blonde in Cagliostro, but she's very much a brunette. And,
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, especially if we keep covering kind of the movies and the TV specials, the styles kind of change quite a lot.
Okay.
And I think this is where this is kind of ties more into being closer to Monkey Punch's manga, especially stylistically. Like, Lupin's design freaks me the fuck out in this movie.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
It just, I saw for the first time like in the castle, I think, in the beginning, and I was like, huh.
He's a little top heavy.
Yeah. There's just something about him where I was like, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I get that from most characters. I think Jigen is like the most, because you can't really change his design too much.
No.
Yeah.
And like Goemon looks kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean,
we
were talking about, we mentioned this at some point, like when we were just talking about our reactions and stuff. Like, I made the comparison that his head shape sort of looks like a banana.
A little bit. That's the thing. Everyone's head's kind of oddly shaped when you see them from the side in this movie. But going back to Fujiko, her characterization is so fucking wild in this movie compared to everything else I've seen from Lupin, which isn't much. But I'd say I've got a good grasp of what her character's normally like, which is very self-assured, very comfortable as a woman, very badass.
Confident, like sure of herself, capable.
Oh yeah. I loved her in the last one.
Yeah.
That's the Fujiko I wanted to see a series of, because she was so cool.
Having just watched part 4, like not long before we watched this, I love Fujiko's character, and I like her relationship with Lupin as a very kind of flirtatious, playful, will they, won't they type relationship. And she clearly, you know, can stand on her own, whereas this movie did not let her do any
Girl
of
need
that.
a man.
Yeah, she's very damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And that is one of the big disappointments from this movie for me.
I sort of get what they were going for, but the execution failed so hard.
It's just so, it felt so sexualized in a way as well, Like, you know how we nowadays have a lot of movies where they're like, we need one, like, shirtless scene or one, like,
Yeah.
getting dressed scene. Like, the one that disturbed me most was, like, Star Trek Into Darkness had one of the girl getting
Yeah,
changed. And
just
I feel like
no
everyone
rhyme or
sat there
reason.
was like, why?
Yeah,
We
that's
need an underwear shot. We
Yeah.
just do.
the
And
male
that's
gaze.
what this felt like to me
Yeah.
as well, because it, like, when we first saw her, was she, like,
Oh, she's full ass
showering?
naked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she's in a bed, but she's full on
Uh-huh.
Like,
naked.
You can do that in a badass way, like, I own it, and
Yeah.
but she was just... Yeah, it felt like she was very
Yeah.
male-gazed.
Yeah.
Especially in this movie, because mostly going forward, I think until Woman Called Fujiko Mine, where it's handled very differently, you never see her fully naked as far as I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in this one, it's weird and hypersexualized
Yeah.
to a disturbing degree, especially when...
Like you said, literally the first time we see her.
yeah, she's
Mhm.
fully naked and then she's showering and it's
Someone's
so...
watching her.
Someone's watching, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's trying to play on the whole male gaze thing, and like Mamo does bring it up later when he's got Lupin in the machine to like look into his dreams, and it's
Yeah.
like tits, Zenigata, tits, Fujiko, tits,
Yeah.
fucking Fujiko, tits.
Which I'm sad to say I sort of laughed at.
I laughed at it as well,
Same,
mainly
yeah.
because Zenigata's the first one to show up after the tits. I'm like, yeah, that kind of scans for the relationship, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zeniga is still the best character in these movies. Even this movie couldn't bring him down.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I guess it does try and comment on that in a way, but it doesn't do it in any
No.
meaningful way.
No, they
Yeah.
could have turned it around and had the badass girl and went, I don't need any of you.
Yeah.
But no, they were, no.
No, she's
She
fully a
did.
damsel in
Yes, yes, you
distress in
do.
this
Yeah.
movie.
And, like, I don't know if it's the same voice actress for all of them, but just having the very high-pitched, squealy voice doesn't help.
She
So-
was
The
very
damsel
the
in distress
comparison
scene.
I had in my head multiple times was she's very Princess Peach.
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit,
you're right.
yeah.
And that's not the bar you really want to go
No.
for.
So, going forward when we're watching Lupin stuff, this will probably be the voice cast that we'll hear, other than Zenigata, who does change after this.
Okay.
Thank God. I hated Zenigata's voice in this movie so much. Because at first it sounds a lot like Doug Erholtz, who voices him now, but it's I think it's someone called Jake Martin, who I think it's a pseudonym. So it's a lot of non-union dubs back then. They would use
Yeah.
different names and stuff. And he sounds kind of similar, but then he keeps talking, and I'm like, oh, you sound like a bad parody of this character. But yeah, so this is like the sort of concrete cast. You got Tony Oliver as Lupin, Richard Epcar as Jigen, Lex Lang as Goemon, the voice of Neocortex.
Yes! Yeah, I can hear it now as
Yeah.
well. That's amazing.
Yep, and then you've got Michelle Ruff as Fujiko, and I think you can tell that this was one of their very early.
Oh yeah,
works
this is
as
very
this
much
cast.
a break-in for all these characters.
Especially Michelle Ruff as Fujiko. Like, I think I mentioned this to you, Sean, is that, you know, she has a very seductive, sultry voice in a lot of the later stuff with Michelle Ruff. Here, I can hear it at times,
Yeah.
but a lot of the time it's very much not there. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the direction, even though this is directed by Richard Epcar, who also directed Part 4's dub, which is very good, or if it's just the material they're working with for the movie. I don't like... Well, yeah, no one sounds quite right in this movie to me, I don't think. Especially Fujiko. She sounds...
I think Princess Peach is a very
Yeah.
good way
Yeah,
to describe it. You know, and when you play it, she doesn't really say anything. She just kind of goes, ah.
Yeah, like, I think, you know, Fujiko's characterization is going to be a sticking point for us throughout it.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Because we all loved her so much.
Oh,
in
yeah.
She
Castle
was so
Cagliostro.
cool.
And then to go to this, where we were all like, go! Oh.
Yeah, like, I knew nothing about Mamo before I went into it, and like the first scene I see her, I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck am I getting
I
into
first
here?
genuinely thought it wasn't her. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
some new female character. And then I
Like,
was like,
this is
where'd
gonna
you
be
go?
our I forget the princess in Cagliostro.
Oh, Clarice.
Clarice, yeah.
Yeah.
This was gonna be our Clarice character for this film,
Mhm.
which I wasn't expecting like to be a running thing for these movies, but when I
It's
first saw
not.
it, I know
Yeah.
it's not, like, and obviously
Mhm.
revealed it wasn't, but I was like, okay, sure, I guess we're doing this. I
Yeah.
don't mind. We'll see what it is. And then it's like, oh, it's Fujiko.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it takes a very long time to establish what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, it wastes a lot of time on kind of very, I guess, heist of the week-esque.
Yeah.
It's very heisty.
That's what that first part felt a lot like to me. And I think, and that's, funnily enough, the part that was the strongest part of the movie for me.
Yeah, I'd say
I
so
get
too.
that. I think narratively it certainly is, because it feels more akin to like an extended episode of one of the TV series. I mean, it's got his classic car from the first, from part 1, which is the Mercedes he's driving, and then they get in a Mini, which I'm kind of disappointed by wasn't the iconic yellow car he has, which is a Fiat. Or
I don't know.
It's an Italian car, I know that much. Yeah, it was odd because it just kind of felt really scattershot in the early part of the movie until they get to the safe house and it's like totally destroyed. Like, I don't feel like the movie had much of a trajectory as to where it was going.
No, I just, whenever a movie is kind of weird in how it tells a story and you can't really tell this is the setup, we're now enter Act 2, I find myself checking the time a lot to be like, this is about Act 1, because it's usually about thirds.
Yeah.
And I just constantly was like, we still have this left?
Yeah, like...
Really?
I remember...
What's gonna happen?
I remember getting to Mamo's first death. And there's still 40 minutes on the clock.
I remember checking at that point and being like, 40?
Yeah!
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, how the hell do they continue this?
Yeah.
I was almost convinced there were going to be 40-minute credits.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that there are some movies that have long credits.
But this is
But
too long.
This is too long. And I'm like, where can they go? As like, because the original title of the movie is Lupin versus the Clones. And then obviously we have the Mystery of Mamo, and I'm like, they can't continue the movie on without the titular antagonist.
Yeah.
Because even without the Mamo name in the original Japanese, the clone very much refers to Mamo as you kind of find out.
Yeah.
So I was like, where is this gonna go? And then it kind of just muddles its way through.
Yeah, you kind
Another
of feel like
10,
you
15
dragged
minutes,
through.
yeah.
Like nothing's really happening. You kind of feel like where are we going?
Yeah, and then it's like, you cut to the Japanese Lestlan, as it's written, the Japanese restaurant where, Zenigata's like told you can't go after Lupin, which is a recurring theme. He's told you're off the case, and then suddenly he's just fucking back
he's
again.
still on the case.
He's off the case, but he's not taking that shit.
No.
This is his life's work right here.
Zenigata
He's
is a cop.
chasing that fucker, and I love him for it.
Yeah. Zenigata is the cop who plays by the rules, but not really.
He plays by the rules until Lupin shows up, and then he's
Yeah.
like, "You're not following the rules."
Yeah.
Lupin's his berserk button. You just throw him into a situation, and he'll just go right for him.
The thing
no
is,
matter
it
the
doesn't
cost.
matter the situation. It doesn't matter what the fuck's going on. He's like, "This is Lupin," and they're like, "No, it's not." And he's like, "But it is." Lupin.
Lupin. Love Zenigata.
I love that there's just like tons of compilations on YouTube of like Zenigata screaming Lupin's name.
When you show me like a clip, like this is the only clip I've seen of like Lupin the
They're
Third,
the first.
like. I don't know the context, but they seem like they're in a desert or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they seem lost, and he's like, I'm gonna have to call in the only one that can find us now. And Lupin just, like, he goes to, like, a police radio or whatever, hello, and then suddenly there's a helicopter above him, and it's just Zenigata, Lupin!
I love their relationship so much.
Yeah, that's
I would-
like the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, honest to God, watch a full movie of just them chasing each other,
Yes.
and I would be satisfied.
Yeah, it's very fun. A lot of the time they end up teaming up, which I really enjoy. Because there's
just to quickly cut, nothing like really spoiler related, like to the end of like the movie. When they're like on the island escaping, and they're like Lupin's in like a handcuff
they're
sort
like
of thing.
handcuffed together
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
ankles.
And like Fujiko's been like saved by Goemon.
yeah.
Mhm.
Lupin's just missed it, and so Zenigat, and they're like, "Well, old buddy," and they just run. That was a heartwarming moment, and I
Yeah.
was like, "This would be a beautiful ending to a better movie."
Yeah. So yeah, like it cuts to that, and you're in that restaurant, and he's told,
Stop it.
stop it, don't go after him. And then it's like they're just in a hotel room, and they're just talking, and you're like, where is this going?
Yeah.
Like you have no idea of what's,
Happening.
there's no villain
Yeah.
anymore. There's no clear trajectory. There's no goal that they can
Mhm.
have suddenly ripped away from them and be told, oh well, Mamo's not dead. Suddenly,
From the abyss.
from the
He
abyss,
appears.
Mamo just appears, and
You good?
I thought I heard a car going past in the headphones. That was really weird.
Might be
Nice.
me sniffling, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear a car.
But yeah, so like, when that scene ends, I love kind of like Lupin Zenigata's, his explanations of shit and the shenanigans that goes on. But I hate the scene after Mamo's like, standing in the abyss.
The dream
The
sequence.
dream
Yes.
sequence, because it's like, he's like, oh, this furniture's recently been moved. And there's a hole in the wall. So he pumped sleeping gas in here, took us out, gave us the show, and put us back in. And I'm like,
It
what?
very immediately, like with no like build up, it's just suddenly a Sherlock Holmes-esque like
and like
deduction, and it's
Lupin-
like, what? I mean, I know
yeah,
we mentioned
Lupin
before
does
that he's
do
like,
that occasionally.
but I mean, he's based off like
Yeah, he's-
that French version of like Sherlock Holmes, which we discussed.
Well, the antithesis of Sherlock Holmes. So like,
Yeah.
Arsène Lupin's master thief, and that's what
Okay.
Lupin III is. And so like, that's where the deduction stuff comes from.
Yeah, but like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
in this.
and it's a
Yeah.
weird thing of like, Mamo recurringly calls Lupin a savant, and I'm like, what is the point of this movie? Like,
Yeah.
what is the point of constantly bringing that up? Because it doesn't go anywhere.
No.
It doesn't serve any purpose, and I'm like, I mean, he's not a savant, he's a lovable fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's just good at thieving. It's like, he's not that smart, don't give him too much
This
credit.
is the one thing he's good at.
Yeah. And then, there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything just kind of happens.
Yeah, and it's like, because it suddenly then just cuts to Mamo and Fujiko in the bunker
On their island.
on their
Yeah.
island with, Mamo saying he's launched, nukes or missiles at the US. Not, he never presses the
No.
USSR button that's there.
No.
He just the
Just
US.
America.
Yeah.
You know his motivations.
Yeah.
No way right now.
And then, Lupin just appears and saves Fujiko. There's then just this extended chase sequence.
That just went on for too long.
Yeah.
It really did.
And then you're still wondering what the hell's going on. He meets one of the other clones who claims he's 130th generation, which would mean Mamo has been doing this for like thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, categorically, that can't make sense.
I mean,
No.
they bring it up as well. I mean, I know it's in the dream sequence, and
Mhm.
Mamo's very much like an egomaniac who could be not telling the truth, but he says he's like shaped human history.
yeah, I
and all
don't get that
I
whatsoever.
feel like they should have explained it like, because at some point there's Hitler.
Yeah. Okay, I was wondering when Hitler was going to
I've been wondering how I could segue into Hitler. And there's just no good way to
No,
segue
there's
into
not.
You can segue into literally Hitler.
No, because
No.
like that whole sequence is so strange because he's running through like this weird kind of
Garden Palace?
yeah, where
Exhibit?
suddenly he's just runs through a Dali painting.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Napoleon, and then there's just fucking Hitler,
Wasn't
and
there
it's like
Stalin at some point as well?
I don't.
I didn't
Oh no,
see
Stalin's in the montage
Oh,
of human
yeah,
history.
yeah.
Yeah, and along with Karl Marx.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
Karl
yeah.
Marx.
I know
Hitler
it's
shows up
Marx.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were a few Chinese
Yeah, I noticed.
ones, and then I think Hirohito maybe
Yeah.
for Japan. It's so
It's even
strange.
worse because in that monologue where all these faces are happy, he says the greatest minds in
Yeah,
human
and it's
history.
mostly
And it's
showing
like-
dictators.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck is he on
Yeah.
about?
Mhm.
Like, for a country that's tried very hard to distance itself from its, pre-World
Mhm.
War II self, which I absolutely get, it's not the same
Mhm.
country anymore.
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, this movie just doesn't
This
care.
movie is like,
No.
dictatorship, and millions of people die. Great people.
Yeah.
Greatest minds.
No.
Like, I get that we're not meant to be on Mamo's side, but that is the strangest way to go about
Yeah, I feel
putting
like
him in our bad books.
Yeah.
before that, we were all like, well, he's a clone. What has he done? He's
Yeah.
influenced history. And then Hitler picture.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm just glad they didn't give him any dialogue.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like,
Yeah,
I don't...
mean, we had a full Nazi salute.
that,
Which
yeah.
Lupin was like, I suppose I do it too. I'm like,
He...
Lupin.
No. Hitler didn't salute him. He encountered Hitler, and that was just his reaction.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was his
yeah.
instinct.
He said, Hail mein Führer, and threw up the Nazi salute, and I'm like, what the fuck?
There's no natural reaction to encountering Hitler,
No.
because
No.
of course there's not. But that shouldn't be
That's
fucking
the
know.
last one that
Yeah.
you want to do.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, and then... So back to the... that whole chase sequence, then eventually leads to them in an underground missile silo?
Something like that.
It suddenly
some
just
sort of
goes from
bunker.
rock to
metal.
metal, yeah.
It suddenly becomes very sci-fi.
Yeah, and then, there's a pretty brutal death scene for Mamo during that, where he's, like, lit on fire.
Yeah, and he's like,
For a long
Yeah,
time.
I totally get
he should've
Fujiko's
been Ash.
reaction to that, yeah.
he should have been Ash like within like a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he gets a full on. He walks up.
Yeah.
He almost does the pointed finger to like.
I was so
Fujiko.
uncomfortable during that
Yeah.
scene.
I
And I was like,
just
I
burned.
get what Fujiko's going through right
Yeah.
now.
It was just too long, and I was just
Yeah.
getting more uncomfortable as it went on. I'm like, first of all, how are you walking? Because he walked a bit too casually.
Yeah, like he
He
goes
was
from
so
to kind of paint the picture. There's like this long, very kind of runway-esque type part where like Mamo fires like light beam lasers at Lupin, and Lupin reflects them with a bit of Goemon's blade. Goemon coming in clutch because he never fucking does anything else in these movies.
Yeah.
The blade, which just for some reason broke.
And made him severely depressed.
Yeah, which I mean I do get. that.
Zenigata, no, it's not Zenigata. Sorry, I'm thinking because the sword's called Zentetsuken. Goemon's very attached to his sword.
Yeah.
He's the archetype samurai.
He is the love story this movie needed.
Yeah, him and the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than Lupin and Fujiko for the
Yeah,
entire
in this
movie.
movie,
Absolutely.
100%. And so he reflects it back, and then that's when Mamo gets set on fire, and so he walks from this runway up a set of stairs,
Yes.
and then
While
like
on
a
fire.
long, like a catwalk type thing,
Yeah.
on fire towards Fujiko, and then falls over and kind of extends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He gets like a solid foot taller.
Oh,
when he
yeah.
falls
best way to
down.
describe it.
Yeah. And then you're again left wondering, where is this going? Because there's still, I want to say something like
20 minutes.
20
20
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
This is another point where I tried like, how are we filling?
Yeah.
He is gone.
Yeah, like,
and I'm
he's
sitting
dead.
there like, how has this only been 20 minutes since I last checked? And then the giant brain appears,
Dun 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 dun.
which suddenly feels like
It
a
answers
Sonic
the question.
boss.
How is there 20 more minutes?
Yeah,
Giant brain?
giant brain.
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 It's Lupin and the brain, brain. Doodle-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, and it's so strange because like it just appears. There's no setup, no build up. It just slowly rises
Yeah.
from the ground and starts talking to him.
And it claims that's the original, by the way. as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Which means that thing has been there for thousands
Yes.
of
It
years.
kind of reminded me like the Starwhip fish from the Suicide Squad movie.
A lot. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
right.
that. It suddenly feels like
Starro?
Yes,
Starro,
Starro. That's
yeah.
the one.
I think I called it a Metroid boss.
Well, I did the Metroid music like a couple
Yeah,
like
but
seconds
like
ago. Yeah.
last night I think I
Yeah.
called it a Metroid boss when I seen it. It's something from a very different, movie franchise series altogether, different genre, and like to I don't think we're doing this justice. Like, this isn't a normal human-sized brain.
No.
This is fucking massive.
Like imagine an ancient ass tree that's huge.
And a brain.
Yeah.
That's the size of a brain.
Yes. So if you've ever seen a Minuteman missile, imagine one of them tipped with a brain that matches that thing's fucking circumference.
I want to talk about this. Why put precious cargo in the tip?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What I don't get is that he talks and Lupin is like thrown back, which I think is meant to hint that he caused the earthquake like that. And I don't know if it's meant to be like he's on the tip so that he causes the destruction.
I don't. It just feels like seeing a rocket with a brain in it.
Yeah, like that's the thing that completely took over my mind, that I didn't
Yeah.
even clock anything else.
And so like it takes off and it heads up, and as it kind of gets to its is it the apogee?
I don't.
Where it there's a word for it where like something goes up and then kind of comes back down. It's part of a parabolic curve, which is,
I don't know the word, but I know exactly what you're describing.
Yeah, so it's
Climb.
it's the way that missiles like this are kind of fired off as they head up sort of just into space and then come back down to their target. And apparently Lupin's just set a bomb that we've never seen happen.
I mean, isn't there like a moment where like either he not that he falls onto it, but like
he like clings to it a little bit.
yeah.
And then
he made a watch into it. Like,
he used his watch, I think.
which I feel like we should have had the watch mentioned like clearly,
Yeah.
so we're like, oh my god, he's using the watch,
It
but
should
it
have
was
been
just
set up, yeah.
is that a fucking watch?
Yeah, I think it's like a Lupin always wears a watch. So I think if
Yeah.
you've maybe seen part 1 and part 2 of the TV series, you kind of just
Maybe.
understand like things that he uses in his arsenal. So it's not something I kind of batted my eye at because I just watched part 4 before this, and he does that sort of thing quite a lot. Not quite a lot, but you know what I mean.
It happens.
Yeah.
And so it explodes. And rather than the brain doing what any normal human organ would do in space and shriveling up and drying out and turning to ice and just,
Yeah.
you know, disintegrating into nothingness or exploding, it drifts off into the sun like something out of fucking 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
It just straight up like the movie just Supermans it's filling it into the sun.
Like it just needed the fucking, is it Zarathustra, that piece that plays in 2001?
I don't know
You know the music that
I
I'm
know
talking
that.
I'm
about?
not sure.
I couldn't even hum it. It's like the one with the drums and stuff like
dun,
that.
dun dun dun
Uh-huh.
dun dun.
Oh yeah.
That's it, yeah, that one. I could just hear that music as it slowly drifted over Earth, the moon, and then into the sun, and
This
I'm like...
is where I thought that it would end.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I thought, and I'm like, cool, this movie is
Good end.
over.
Yeah. I
And it
was
still
very
has
happy.
10 minutes.
Like the credits could have just went right there.
Yeah.
And I would have been completely
Yeah, I would have
fine.
been so satisfied with that ending.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
same.
Great.
But then Lupin gets arrested by Zenigata, who's just hiding under the rubble.
Yeah.
And they make us think that Fujiko's been like injured or whatever, but then it's like turned out that no, she was just tricking
Yeah.
Lupin
Yeah.
because Zenigata told her to.
Because
Which
he
is
threatened
weird.
to arrest her.
Yeah, which is a weird beat to play right after the mindfuck that
Yeah.
is the brain into
Yeah.
the sun.
Yeah, and like I kind of do get it. It's that them trying to play into their normal relationship, but this movie has established that
It is
nothing about this movie is their normal relationship.
So what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no, we haven't even mentioned the fact that way before any of this, when Lupin went to rescue Fujiko from Mamo's island place, and he finds her again, there's an extended sequence where they're going up an elevator, and they're like seconds away from fucking.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, there's so many instances where they are seconds away
Yeah.
from fucking. Even was it in the desert house? They were sleeping in, like separate
Oh, that
rooms.
was
boy.
really fucking rapey.
That was
I
yeah.
didn't
I
like
was also
that.
like, that's. I hear some rape whistles going
Yeah,
on, and
like-
that is not okay.
Like I said, like their relationship's normally really playful and like sexually charged. That is
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
that's their, you know,
But it's-
dynamic.
It's like it's on both sides usually.
Yeah.
This
And
was
this one was
fully
not, yeah.
one-sided, and
Uh-huh.
one person being like, "No."
It always
Yeah.
feels like there's a layer of respect between them.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
what I got from Cagliostro,
Uh-huh.
which just was not there.
Yeah.
No.
And it's weird that just sort of the reason I brought this up is to tie it back to the end
Yeah.
where suddenly that respect comes back.
Mm.
And he kisses her, I don't even know if I want to explain what happens after that, because it's so weird.
It was so weird that I was like, why? Again, this was the second point where I was like, oh, that's a good ending.
Yeah. It could have just done the whole circle down to nothing blackness and end and then credits.
Sure.
But no, the camera pans down from them kissing. Lupin pulls down her shirt and pokes her in the nipple.
I watched it, I was like, who in the studio wrote the screenplay that said, they kiss? Then.
And then nipple button.
Yeah, like...
It may honestly make me think she was a robot. I'm sure she
Yeah.
because I was like, this is no normal human interaction.
No, like, it's not like he... My parents are probably listening to this. Oh, I'm sorry, Mum and Dad. It's not like he even, pinches it or does anything a normal human being would do.
Yeah.
Which would not be going for the nipple in this situation in the first place.
This is no nipple-worthy situation.
No. But if they did, they wouldn't just...
Poke.
Yeah.
Like, it would be more natural if they leaned back and booped someone's nose.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
but
weird,
then it
but
pans
funny.
back up, and she's fully into it.
Yeah, she's fine with
Yeah.
it for some reason. I was expecting a full-on punch.
yeah, this is punch-worthy
Yeah.
event here.
Like, normally this is where she would, like, kick him or something like that, but no.
Or like, a groin knee.
Yeah. But then...
He gets handcuffed.
He's handcuffed at this point, because Zenigata is fully handcuffed to
Oh
him.
yeah, I remember
Telling
thinking...
him to fucking stop.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I don't want to
He's
see
the
this.
one sane person there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should
Like
have been
it-
about him.
Like,
Should
at
have been
first
about
I'm
him.
like, nah, Zenigata,
Yeah.
it's fine. They're reuniting, they're kissing,
Yeah.
stop being a prude, and then
And then
No.
that happened.
that happened, and I'm like, no, I'm fully with Zenigata here.
No.
But then, the island starts getting pelted with all of these missiles.
Yeah, this is the
Like
point
a fuck ton.
where I got extremely nauseous by the amount of flashing lights.
Now, I did not realize this until I put on the Blu-ray myself, because it's not at the beginning of the movie, like, file itself. It's at the beginning of the Blu-ray disc, where there's a flashing light warning. So really, that's on me.
I never really get bothered by flashing lights, but
Oh,
I've
this
been
was
looking
bad.
at
Like,
a screen for like, at this point, 1 hour 40, and I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm ready for it to end.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like out of it already.
But this is also like the third instance.
yeah,
of
it's
this sort of thing.
so much blowing up that's very flashy. It's
Yeah.
made well, but it's a lot on the eyes.
You can
It's a
tell this
lot.
is pre-Porygon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electric Soldier Porygon,
Yeah.
the Pokemon episode where like
A lot of children like
Yeah.
electric
Yeah,
episodes,
which
right?
has
Yeah.
changed the course of like anime when it comes to flashing images for ever since, really, like the entire industry.
even beyond that, like in like games as well.
Yeah, which is funny because it feels like in recent years there's been so many controversies over stuff like that, where Cyberpunk left in a sequence originally that could trigger photosensitive epilepsy, because it's all to do with like the certain color combinations, but also it can be do with like the speed and frequency of flashing.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk did it. Evangelion, the final, the fourth movie, 3.0 plus 1.0, whatever the fuck it's called, Thrice Upon a Time, had a sequence that could have potentially triggered, and that's an anime, like, people should have learned for that, but Anno is one of these people who pushed back against it and was like,
Oh, come on.
yeah, and I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Come on, it's only a seizure.
Yeah, so it's like if you watch any broadcast anime, like if you watch stuff on Crunchyroll, if it has like scenes of like bright flashing lights, you'll notice that the screen dims quite a bit, and it's commonly called ghosting, I think, where it like brings it down so you're not as susceptible to it. Because if you're buying it on home video, you'll get what we got in Mamo.
It was just a lot, and I was so done already that I legit, once it was finally over after like its 7th perfect ending, that I just really had to take a minute and just kind of, get some fresh air. It was just too much.
I want to say it's even worse because when I was watching it, I was in like my room, and because the way I was watching it, it was like right next to like my window, which was very bright as well. So I had to like put my blackout blinds on, watch it in the dark and all that. And that was so bright, I legitimately had to like cover my eyes or like close them. Just because it was hurting.
I found that as well, especially like, I think there's one scene where Mamo, it's the scene where he gets hit by the light rays.
Yeah.
That end scene where everything's kind of blowing up. There's the one where Lupin gets electrocuted.
Yeah.
That was, I think, one of the big ones
Yeah,
for me.
because that one's white on black,
Yeah.
like rapidly.
It's
a lot.
Yeah, and like underneath it all is very well animated, but it is still really intense. And I was watching it at like, I think maybe 10:30, and I had my blackout curtains closed because, you know, that's how I watch movies, because my TV's directly in front of my window. And I was like, fucking hell, this is intense. And my head was starting to hurt from it. I just, yeah, it's such a weird... But then, you know, after all of that is when we get Zenigata and Lupin running away and the credits roll. And Lupin starts singing over the credits as Japanese VA,
Yeah.
which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
It's a very wild journey.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I would recommend this look as much as the Castle Cagliostro, because it is just very disturbing.
I know, I wouldn't.
I-
To watch this movie, I'd recommend this if you're a Lupin fan. And you're
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. I think you would need to be very far into watching other Lupin stuff.
I would not prioritize this
Oh
one.
no, like I would never
Yeah,
recommend
yeah.
this as someone's first Lupin experience, which is why I'm glad we covered Cagliostro first.
Yeah, like, I mentioned this when I was talking to you, but if we had watched this one first instead of Cagliostro, I can tell you right now I would not be as enthusiastic to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
more Lupin
Definitely.
stuff.
Because there's part of me that was thinking, you know, when it comes to Lupin, maybe we should cover things chronologically, go through the movies, because I think there's only something like 6, and then go through the TV specials and then the TV series, obviously slowly over time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But now I'm thinking we just jump around and go with
I think
wherever,
that's best.
because I feel like we're going to encounter some really weird stuff
Yeah.
if we keep going with this, because Mamo really sideswiped all of us, I think. And maybe I should start watching them ahead of recommending stuff for the... Because there are times I want to go into stuff blind for the podcast.
It's fun.
Yeah. I don't know if I regret it for this one, though. I did rate this, I think, an 8 out of 10 on my anime list. Because despite all the weird, creepy shit, the animation, the music... overall, it is a fun movie at times.
Yeah, I will say, just to go off the animation thing, this animation wise, it's a beautiful movie.
Oh yeah,
yes.
100%.
Like I remember like saying, I think I even like the look of this better than Cagliostro.
Yeah, I'd say I like this better than Cagliostro, I think, because Cagliostro maybe plays it a bit safer.
It feels a lot more like, I mean, I know it's made by Miyazaki, but it feels a lot more like his sort of...
Yeah.
I don't want to say generic because that makes it sound bad.
No, but he has a style, you know.
Yeah.
He's an auteur, so he has a style that he brings to all of his movies, which I
Yeah.
think can be said for pretty much everyone that touches Lupin. They have their own style, which is fun because whenever we cover Dead or Alive, I think it's Dead or Alive anyway. One of the movies is actually directed by Monkey Punch, the manga author, which I'm really intrigued to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, stylistically, I think I prefer this to Cagliostro.
Yeah.
I think Cagliostro has maybe a little more polish in some places.
I mean, to me, I'd say it looks a bit too clean.
Yeah,
for me.
that is definitely an issue I have with Cagliostro when I watch it. Because something I loved about Mamo in particular is just sort of getting to see, and I don't know if either of you really picked up on this, but like how they would compose stuff is sometimes really clear in the way it's been restored. Like when they first kill Mamo and he's been shot in the head, when you see that scene of him kind of lying down and he slowly kind of drops and the camera moves, you can see the cell that they had layered on top for him sliding down. You can still see the dark marks and stuff. And then in the caves, when like everything's on fire, you can see them moving like 2 layers of cells together and waving them to give the flames motion.
I didn't see
Yeah.
that. But
I think I
kinda
maybe
wanna
only
go back.
noticed it because I watched it on, you know, the big TV
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like multiple layers because the flames are definitely moving, but I can also see kind of like
patterns in it.
patterns
Yeah.
of where like the cell itself is being kind of manipulated, and you don't see any of that sort of thing with Cagliostro. You don't see that with any Miyazaki movie because he is a perfectionist, a notorious perfectionist.
Yeah,
And I just love that about these kind of older movies, is seeing the way they would kind of structure stuff just to give stuff its effect and all that sort of thing. Because anime is inherently a medium that has to cut every corner possible to fit within a budget. But yeah, so Mamo is a journey. I really hope that people have watched this before listening to this episode, because I don't feel like we've painted the best picture of it.
Nah.
And like, I really enjoyed it. I don't think I'd recommend this to anyone who hasn't seen a substantial amount of Lupin before. I don't really know what else to say, to be honest about it.
It's just very much, I don't know if it's a product of its time, but it just exists in its own space.
Yeah, I do feel that, and I was kind of wondering, maybe just earlier Lupin, Fujiko was like that, and it's maybe because I've only seen more recent stuff, because I've seen Woman Called Fujiko Mine, which is 2013, Part 4, which is 2015, and the first, which is 2019. So like, I'm seeing modern Fujiko for the most part, and I don't know if it's just been time that's kind of molded the character that she is.
Sort of shaped her into what the character is now, which I would say unequivocally is better.
Yeah, 100%. But like, I also feel like that's maybe just not the case, because Cagliostro did her so much more justice.
And it seemed to fit right in, and that was only like a year after?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Because I think at this point, Lupin was on a kind of yearly schedule for movies and TV specials, or maybe the TV specials went on a yearly schedule after Part 3 finished airing, because Part 2 was coming out at the time that this was in theatres, because you can kind of judge when things are set based on the jacket Lupin's wearing, because he's wearing the red jacket in this one, which is Part 2. Whereas Cagliostro is the green jacket, which is Part 1. I think it's the green jacket. Anyway,
it's green.
Yeah. Then Part 3 is the pink jacket.
I want to see the pink jacket.
Part 4 and 5, have the blue jacket, which is
sweet,
set in Italy, and then you're gonna hate Part 5 because it's set in France.
Oh, fuck me.
We'll get there when we get there.
We get there, yeah. But no, this is. We're going to take a break from Lupin after this, I think.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to course correct and watch the first next, because that was going to be like after we had seen quite a lot of Lupin. But no, I think that's going to be our next.
Yeah, I think that's the one, from just that clip you showed me, that's the one I kind of want to see. It's
a very fun one, and it's like it's rather than 2D animation, it's 3D CG, and very, very nice at that.
I didn't expect to, like, just looking at stills and stuff, I wasn't expecting the jive with, but when that clip, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty well done.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about how it would work out when they kind of first announced it and showed stills and clips and everything like that. Because I like 3D CG when it comes to anime. I like seeing its development pretty much, because back in 2014 they released a series called Knights of Sidonia, which was Polygon Pictures, and ever since then, that was their first TV series, I've followed everything they've made, and seeing them develop's been amazing. That obviously not who animated the first. I don't know who animated the first. I don't know if it was TMS or if they optioned it out to a different studio.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
We'll find out when we talk about that in its own dedicated episode.
So that's Mystery of Mamo.
It's a good time to just move on.
Yeah, I think we've said all we can.
Yeah.
I do want to bring it back just quickly, because the first thing when this movie started, before it got fucking weird, I was so happy that it had the Lupin theme for the opening, because I'm like, oh, you guys get to finally see it in context. And I don't think this movie utilises it properly whatsoever.
It was nice to hear.
It's a good theme. I like the theme.
It's a very good theme, but I like this rendition, but it's maybe a bit too chill, because it normally gets used in chase sequences or when Lupin's doing something kind of badass.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. Like, we get one in the chase early on with the truck and the police. I don't think it fits very well, in my opinion. But yeah, moving on, we'll transition into Galaxy Express 39. Again, unfortunately, I'm very sorry that this is not available in the UK. I'm gonna stop doing this, I swear. Yeah, so if you want to watch it, you're gonna need a region-free Blu-ray player or a Blu-ray player on your disk drive and some funky software.
Region 3.9.
So if you want to get this and watch it, which again I highly recommend, you can go to up1.co.uk and get it there for probably cheaper than Amazon. Again, pretty much if we ever talk about imports, your best location to buy it from is probably Up1. United Publications, up1.co.uk. I'll put a link to both Mamo and Galaxy Express's product pages down in the description below. And obviously I'll tag this as well, but links won't be affiliated. And I apologise for the state of their sites. Doesn't look like it's been updated since the 90s. Anyway, moving on to the actual movie, I just feel like I'm going to have to get that out of the way when we're discussing things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this one...
Choo-choo.
I'm, again, like Ghost in the Shell, I'm worried about how you guys liked it.
I mean, I liked it more than Mamo, which I know isn't saying much, but...
Same.
Not a high bar to clear.
Yeah, I know, but it felt long.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to say. Like, by the end of this movie, I had fun, but I felt physically exhausted.
Yeah.
I maybe should have warned you guys about this, because I warned you about Ghost in the Shell's pacing. I really probably should have warned you about this movie's pacing, because it is a journey and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Journey is the word I would describe this movie, and not just because it's said in the lyrics of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it in 2 parts because I was exhausted.
Yeah, I wish I had done that. Which, to be fair, this one feels like it could be pretty easily split into like multiple parts.
Yeah.
I would say 3 would be ideal.
3
Yeah.
parts.
One for like each of the acts, because each act feels like its own separate, contained.
Yeah, I get
narrative.
that. Yeah.
Like, just to briefly describe them, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
The first half is sort of like him getting on the train, and I'd say up to when he meets the mum of like on.
The old lady on
Maytel.
Yeah.
Oh, Maytel. Or do you mean the old?
No, I mean the
you
old
mean
lady.
you mean Tochiro's
Like
mum.
on Titan, I think it is.
Titan, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you mean Tochiro's mum who gives him the gun and the hat.
Yeah, him or her. Sorry. Him for the son, her for the mum. I'm sorry. Yeah, that whole story with like the bandit leader and all that. That's a whole narrative that was cool.
Yeah.
Could have stopped there and maybe taken a break. The second act is all of like everything past that up to after he kills
Count Mecha.
Count Mecha, yeah. And then the final act, Planet Metal. Or
Maytel.
Maytel.
The amount of times it's Maytel. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
especially at the end.
Yeah,
when
he's chasing
running,
the
I'm
train, and it's
we get it.
Yeah.
I was expecting Maytel to be like, "What? What do you want?"
Because I think it's like it starts just after Captain Harlock. He says, "Don't trust Maytel," and then they start.
it's
Bandit
the bandit
Oh,
leader.
the band, him.
Because
Yeah.
he sacrifices himself.
Yeah,
to, like,
that's the one.
save-
Don't
Yeah.
you fucking mix up Captain Harlock again, I swear
Look,
to God.
I don't.
That was very aggressive.
I adore Harlock.
I mean,
I
he was
mean,
a
he
great
is
character.
cool.
Yeah.
That the whole pirate crew of him and what's her name, the queen Emeraldus.
Emeraldus.
She was great.
Yeah.
Liked her.
Yes.
The whole pirate thing was fantastic.
This is something I
Yeah.
was really excited to discuss, because Leiji Matsumoto, who wrote the manga that this is based on, essentially created the first extended universe within manga. I mean, Marvel Comics would have been going on at the time, but in terms of connecting in a way that didn't really mean you had to read everything.
Yeah.
Because Harlock has his own series, Emeraldus has her own series. But they all
Nice.
appear kind of in each other's one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm always happy to see Harlock show up and stuff. He's a very fun character.
I mean, he was cool.
He was very cool. I feel like I like the Queen Emeraldus especially. Just yes.
She was just awesome.
After fucking Mystery of Mamo, I was like, can we just have a woman that's
We
not?
we need the Fujiko that we were promised.
I think it handles a romance with Emeraldus a lot better. like, because you know that was a very sweet story. But you know, didn't make her a damsel in distress.
No.
I just love that the first time fucking Tetsuro sees her ship, he just takes a pot shot at it.
That
Yeah,
was
it
amazing.
just
He
shoots.
opens the window, shoots
He
it, and
shoots
everyone's
When
like,
they
through
open
the
at it, he
window.
shoots through it.
oh, he shoots through it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah,
and he's
everyone-
just like, my mission.
It just looks pirate ship. Ha!
Yeah. It's like, oh shit, that's Emeraldus. I'm looking for her.
Let me get her
How to
attention.
get her attention. Mhm.
Let me just,
But yeah, no. So where do we start with this movie? We've
I
kind
feel
of just
like
kind
we
of gone full into it.
I sort of described each different
Yeah.
act, so we can sort of jump in wherever, I think, at this
there's,
point.
There's so much. Like, part of me wants to start at the end, but I was like, no, leave it.
I mean, we can start at the end if you want.
Yeah.
Like, this movie again, after he killed Cal Mecha, I looked at the time, I'm like, this was his end goal. They've been
Same.
setting
Yeah.
this up. Like, there's no setup for whatever's gonna happen next.
I think
Until
I
the guy announces, arriving planet Maytal.
I mean,
And
it
then I
does
was
set
like,
up because the bandit leader tells him not to trust Maytel.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
like
That's,
after?
No, that's during
During the
Yeah,
battle.
yeah.
the battle
Yeah,
of Count
but I
Menka.
feel like we
just
needed
before
it
he's got
just
shot.
like one mention in the beginning.
It sort of hints at it throughout the movie, though.
I honestly didn't notice, but that could be me.
Because
I noticed some, like, the hints.
yeah, because there's the fact that, you know, she just kind of kidnaps
Yeah.
Tetsuro from the beginning. There's then when they get to the planet, when they're on Titan and, you know, she's been captured by the bandit leader and they reunite and they do the body scan, she's
Yeah.
visibly worried about,
Yeah.
being checked.
I mean, and it's that like, in that moment, you're thinking, oh, we don't know if she's a robot or a human.
Yeah.
And then they showed that she's a human, but she's still sort of worried, I think.
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, her skin did look kind of different. I think her bones were less dense and were a bit more
they were like,
differently animated.
yeah,
I'd say.
they were more fuzzy's the best way
Yeah, I
I can
think
describe
that's-
it.
There
Yeah.
was something off. I do want to mention that, like, just while it's in my head right now, I don't know if it's just me, but, like, did it seem like a lot of, like, the adult female characters had the same sort of
Face.
That's
Look
a
face,
yeah.
that's very much a recurring Matsumoto thing.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if that was a stylistic thing or like an actual thing I was supposed to pick up on.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's just how Matsumoto designs a lot of his female characters.
Okay, because like,
I had trouble with it too because as soon as Maytel walked in, I was like, "That's the mom."
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And then
That's
I think,
the only intentional
Yeah,
like,
exactly. So
design
it was like,
choice.
maybe it's intentional. You know, he's mentioned, oh, she kind of looks like my mom. But then I think who's the next lady to show up? I think it's the Queen Emerald.
Emeraldus looks
Where I'm
very
like-
similar.
That's his mom.
yeah, and then later on when you've got her name begins with an R, but it's like the blue-haired sort of Count Mecha girl.
Oh, the
Oh,
guitar
lady.
player.
Rio,
Yeah.
Ryuzo.
Ryuzo, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think something
she
like that.
just looks like them, but with blue hair, and I was
Yeah.
like, so is she the mum too?
Yeah, the film I don't think had Matsumoto involved, but it's very true to his
Oh.
designs and how he
Yeah.
designs characters. I think later on in his work he started working with his wife, and that's when his female character designs got a bit more varied.
Because he realised women are other people.
It's not just hair color, huh?
I think he just
Yeah.
gave the female
yeah.
designs to his wife at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, just going off of this, I thought that was going to be like a plot point. Like, this was all to say that these were a series of, like,
He
bots
just
or
has
something.
mommy issues.
Yeah, if we take a deep dive into this, it's the psychological impact, but being more practical, it's just the way they're designed.
Yeah.
I mean, Tetsuro does have mommy issues.
Oh,
Oh,
big
yeah.
ones.
like 100%.
But they're not related to this
No,
one.
no.
Because it's one of my first things. I was like, oh, that's so cool. You know, we're seeing it from his perspective. Like, everyone's his mom.
Nah,
Yeah,
that's
nah.
just Matsumoto.
Yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to get
Yeah.
that out there. 'Cause I couldn't stop noticing it.
There's it's not just exclusive to the female characters. If you read, like, I'll kind of dive into a lot of his work. There's a lot of recurring character designs in general.
Ah, great.
Tetsuro's the only design I think that actually changed in this movie, between the kind of original and the movie. Tetsuro's design in the original is very similar to, like, a bunch of characters in Matsumoto's work. I think he even looks a lot like Tochiro in the original.
I mean, he sort of looks a little bit.
He looks
I'm
a
not
little
just
bit like
saying
him
that
now,
because
but
he has the hat and
yeah.
like, the cape thingy.
But like in the original, he's very similar to Tochiro.
Okay. I mean, I thought the twist was going to be that he was like his dad or something.
Yeah, same.
I actually always, like watching this again when we first see when it opens and you kind of see all the wanted posters and Tetsuro appears in front of Harlock's one. I'm like,
as soon as that happens, I was like, oh, he's gonna pop up at some point.
no, I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, he's not his dad. I was like,
Yeah, well, that he was originally who I thought was going to be like
Yeah.
the twist dad.
the thing is, I was like, I don't remember a lot about this movie. I only remember like a lot of the broad strokes, and I'm like, it can't be a plot detail that Harlock's his dad, because that's like a central focus of the next movie as to who Tetsuro's dad is.
Oh, okay.
It's very Star Wars, the next movie.
Was it Count Mecha all along?
No. We'll get to it, Jew. It's certainly something.
Doesn't sound like high praise. We'll get to
We'll
it.
get to it. But yeah, so
It was a journey, I think. It really does well in taking you through the places where they go, even though, like, I understand with, like, spacing and timing, it can be a bit weird, because it's a long span of time.
yeah.
Because they mention, oh, we're going to be here for, like, 16 Earth days, and it's, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sure. But also, I feel like I want to know more.
Yeah, I get that. I think it intentionally kind of messes with the passage of time a little bit, and that, like, they'll have the event that happens on that planet, and then they're just back on the
Yeah.
3-9.
Which I could accept that like pretty easily, but I get what you mean. Like, it's weird how they specifically bring up like these take a long time, like
Yeah.
layovers, and then suddenly it's just like one event. Go.
I think once you get to what planet is it where they have to like rush to get back to the 3-9? It's the last one before
Metal.
The
before
trade
the
outpost?
trade outpost
yeah.
one, yeah.
That's the one.
I think it's all sort of done like that so that when you get to that part, there's a bit more in kind of tension as to them getting back to the 3-9 in time, and maybe gives you an idea of like how much time has actually passed.
It gave me so much anxiety. Them being like, "Oh, we have 6 days. Let's just go to this place." I'm like, you have a train to catch. It was also I want to mention this because it made me laugh too much. On like I don't remember the name of the planet where all the people were in the ice.
Pluto.
Pluto, yeah.
Oh, it's Pluto. They all had the pose of they had to do it to him.
God, you're right.
And once I saw it,
You mean they were in the traditional funeral pose?
No, they had to do it to him.
Like, I knew it was traditional, but I just saw this onslaught of people all standing with their arms like
I
that.
didn't catch that, but now it's amazing.
Oh, I can't unsee that when I watch the movie now.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Like, for a second, I could take serious, like, oh, yeah. And then as soon as I mentioned it to my boyfriend who was watching it with me, he was like, why have you done this? Because it's very dramatic, and I understand, like, the weight of it. It's all these bodies and stuff. But they had to do it to them.
They had to do it to him.
I mean, that's probably what they'd be saying when they got their mechanical body.
Yeah.
They
They
had
had to do it to them.
Yeah.
Can I just say, while we're on Pluto, that the Shadow?
Shadow.
Yeah, she creeped me the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's like... That along with when we get the reveal of what planet Maytel is actually about and stuff, those two parts are like the most horrifying things I've seen in a while in like movies.
Yeah, no, I get that. I love the kind of reveal of Planet Maytel. Like,
Yeah,
I think it's one of the best.
I mean, you saw my reaction when like Maytel's like whole thing here and like Planet Maytel's like, I was like, traitor, you traitor. I was legitimately distraught.
I think it's a great kind of rug pull moment.
Because we end on like, oh, he's killed Mecha. He's just, what's he gonna do? He doesn't, because he wanted to have the mechanical body to kill.
Yeah.
Like, well, he doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So what's the point of going there now?
Yeah.
Well, he does say after he's buried someone, I think he makes a grave for the bandit leader, and then he's speaking to Harlock and he says that he's going to the mechanical planet in the Andromeda
And that's
galaxy
the plan to
Mhm.
destroy it.
to
yeah.
destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes from wanting a mechanical body to kill Count Mecha to wanting to kill all mechanical beings, I think.
Which
Um,
the way he
villainous
says it's
little
kind,
boy.
it's kind of like genocide now.
Yeah, and I'm like, I wonder how much of the percentage of the galaxy's population is
They imply
mechanical
it's
at
a
this
good
point.
chunk.
It's a good chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, I love how they gave some robots robo-nips and the others not.
What?
Like,
Okay, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice this either.
like, they have the circle on their stomach,
Uh-huh.
but there was also this one guy that also had those circles on his nipples.
You know that the girl with Count
Ryozo.
Ryozo
Something like
for
that.
Count
She as
Mecha,
well.
she has
Yeah.
them as well.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on it for any other character.
No.
It wasn't very noticeable. It was just the fact that I was kind of zoning out because I think this was first
Zoning
half.
out.
Okay. Thanks.
But yeah, I thought what's her name? I'm not gonna remember. Ryozo.
Ryozo.
Her-
Yeah.
We can just call her
I-
blue hair
Blue
lady.
hair
Blue
lady.
hair lady. I think she was mechanicized the best. Like in aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she was done it. It was done so she could be sexually pleasing to the.
Yeah, but it was like, but it's an
Yeah.
understandable choice then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
all the others kind of looked
Funky.
very human.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of really varied designs, but then there's
Mhm.
also a lot of like they just have a big single,
A single
Eye.
circle
and it's like
Yeah.
a targeting thing, and she has them
on her.
on her breasts, and I'm
Yeah.
like, can you see through those?
I'm gonna be honest. I
Genuine
question. The same.
question.
Because she has them on her breast, and she
Mhm.
has them in her. I think she has one in her stomach
Yeah,
as well.
stomach.
I'm
stomach.
like,
Also, it's
can you
weird
see
that
them?
in the middle of the head they put a target. Like it's
I mean, it's like it's a reticle thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a targeting system.
Yeah.
hmm Like I understand it's for them, to see, but it's also like you're looking at them like you're literally a walking
Yeah.
target.
It does very much look like a big shoot here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they
Side.
kind of did that because I think just big red circle would look kind of weird.
Yeah.
I
Makes
think-
it a bit more human.
Yeah,
in
it
a
adds a
weird
bit
way.
more depth to the
Mhm.
design, I think. Yeah, I don't know where to go with any of this conversation because we've went in a totally different direction than I
Yeah.
expected.
As is usual.
As
Yes.
is usual, yeah.
But I think it's a very good movie. Like
Yeah, it's a good movie. This is one I'd
it
recommend.
plays with
Yeah.
storytelling very well.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Even though it gets a bit slow in the middle,
Yeah.
I'd say,
Mhm.
but it truly does make up for it because once you kill Kalmecha, you have so what
Yeah.
now? And they really make up for it by being
Yeah.
like, here's some bad shit stuff for you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
thank
think the whole kind of like not slump, but this kind of slower part in the middle is like a
Mhm.
very kind of more reflective
Mm.
sequence.
Yeah.
To kind of you have Tochiro becomes part of Harlock's ship. and I think you just kind of have Tetsuro realizing that people are dying
Yeah.
in this adventure.
People are dying.
Yeah, like
Like straight up.
yeah, like he's having to like actually face death properly
Mhm.
for the first time because he lost his mother, but like
he has to
like-
process it.
Yeah.
because I
I
don't
You
think
see
he
it
processes it.
consistently
No, yeah.
and like constantly enough that he really has to deal with it.
yeah, which I think maybe kind of pushes him towards wanting to destroy the mechanized planet in the
Mhm.
end, and not just taking down Count Mecha. But yeah, I love this movie. I can't really
I
say
can
any more than
understand
that.
it.
I get
Um,
that completely.
And the music in this especially is fantastic. This is one of my favourite soundtracks of all time. It's certainly helped by the two songs that are in it. They're
Mhm.
very upbeat and catchy, but then
Yes.
like you see them in the context of the movie and they're
Mhm.
kind of bittersweet.
Yeah.
Like the first one plays when he's leaving on the 3-9 and he's like seeing, images of his friends that he's leaving behind. And he's kind of sad to be there, and then the end of the movie, it's a little awkwardly constructed because you
Mhm.
have, the score playing. It's all very melancholic,
Mhm.
and it just fucking smash cuts
Yeah.
into the song,
Mm-hmm.
and he's
he's
yeah, and
Mhm.
he's just crying, and I'm like, I get it. I get
Mhm.
what you're trying to do, but you could have done it a little bit smoother than this.
Could have had like maybe like a little like gap and then show him as like some sort of like a happier place.
Yeah, which is it's kind of weird because on the actual soundtrack, the piece that you hear before the song is actually part of that song on the soundtrack. Yeah, so to listen to that song, you need to hear the sort of like 3-minute, instrumental piece before that, and then it just smashes into. I forget what the name of the song is now. I think it's maybe just Galaxy Express 39.
Because the music, I think it was approached very differently from what I'm used to. Like I watched it thinking maybe this is a more, Japanese approach to how to score. Because I think for me it felt like a lot of the score was beautiful. I loved it, but sometimes like the emotion behind it didn't feel right.
I think the scores there kind of underlie a lot of the emotional drive of the movie. So like while there's maybe happier things going on that kind of contrast the score, it's kind of there to maybe point out that Tetsuro, still isn't, happy. He's
like, I assumed it was very intentional, but it's something I'd never seen before, and I was like, it feels like visually jarring to hear a score of a certain feel and then see something different.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen someone really play with that.
I think this and maybe Adieu, the sequel, are the only ones that I've ever really seen do it. I don't think that Yamato done it, which was, the other Matsumoto work. That has a very iconic soundtrack, but it's not in the same kind of vein, and whatever's playing is kind of used to punctuate what's actually happening on screen. There's a lot of kind of sad music because that's the tone of Yamato is this very it's optimistic, but let's face reality, humanity is doomed.
Let's just move past that though.
But yeah, no, I don't think I've seen this done very very often. I think that's maybe why I like this one so much. Actually, speaking about Matsumoto and his other work, there's a lot of nice kind of references to other stuff, like when they're at when they're boarding the 39, there's an announcement for a train heading to the large Magellanic Cloud cluster. That's where Yamato takes place. That's where they're heading in Yamato, because that's where the enemy planet Gamlis and the twin planet to Gamlis, who's trying to help them, Iskander, is located. I just thought that was a really nice touch. And then you've got a kind of, I think that's Harlock's theme that plays underneath when he's on screen. It sounds very much like from Yamato though. It doesn't sound like it's from Harlock. There's loads of references that I maybe haven't even picked up as well because I haven't, like I said, general availability of Matsumoto's works sucks. So please, Discotheque, if you're listening to this, would be nice.
Give us some of that free shit.
No, just license them, please. I'll buy them. I'll pay for them.
But give us free shit too.
No, yeah, I really love this movie. It's one of those ones that I just get absorbed in every time I watch it. It's not a type of storytelling you see very often anymore. And like you said, it plays with storytelling and music and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we've said all we can say about it really at this point. So I think that's another episode of Anime Lane in the books.
Wow.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening to another episode of Anime Lane. I've been Rebel Notorious, and I've been joined by Shaun.
Hello.
Goodbye.
And Melina.
Goodbye.
So yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.